Mr. Chidambaram.
I don't think I should. I mean,
The conflict of interest.
So what should I say? There is an interest. There's no conflict.
Okay.
Okay. But, everybody talks about father-son relationships in political families. Whatever exposure I have had of interviewing father and son, I have seen that sons are usually, when they have a father who's like been so successful, you're overshadowed to a large extent. To come out of that shadow is hard.
I am known as my father's son. That's the first thing people always recollect about me, or even when they see me, that's the first thing which pops into their mind. So, but I am his son. We have a formal relationship because he had a very formal relationship with his father. But because of my politics, we spend a lot of time together now. And as we are both getting older, and he's 80 and I'm 54, it's also eased up a lot more. But we are different personalities. He's a perfectionist, whereas I'm a generalist. We agree on a lot of things the world-wise, but our styles differ.
And with your mother, what is your relationship
I'm
with your
very close to my mother. I'm very, very close to my
Okay.
mother. My mother is also 80. In fact, her birthday is a few weeks away. My father turned 80 a few months ago. They're the same age. I'm very close to my mother. And my political interest is only because of her, because she really fed me politics as a toddler. Because even as a toddler, she would read the newspaper to me, make me write the headlines of the day in the newspaper, teach me big words. In fact, she even read the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich when I was a little boy. So I knew all the Nazi.
It's a huge book.
She read that whole book to me when I was a child. And at that time,
And how old were you?
I must have been 3. So and she explained the story to me. She would translate words to me. So I knew about even the Watergate scandal when I was 3 years old. That's what was happening when I was about 3. Nixon was resigning, and at the time, obviously, my English was not very strong. So she would translate every word to me. So I owe all my political interest, vocabulary, interest in
Legal matters?
I'm a lawyer. I studied law to please my
With
parents.
both your parents?
I studied law to please my
And
parents.
real world experience also.
Yeah. I studied law to please my parents. I did my undergrad in the US, which I played tennis for the university there. I was an undergrad. I did business administration. After that, I was at a bit of a wit's end like everybody else. And then parents were always encouraging you to study law. I said, okay, if I get into a good university, I will study law. And I got into Cambridge. My father was the most pleased about that in my life, that when I got into Cambridge. But I studied law only to please them. But I made it clear I won't practice after that. I don't have the patience.
Were they happy about you getting into politics? I mean, your mother would have been, but your dad?
I don't think anybody had a doubt that I'd get into politics. This is something which I was, even as a child, I was only around a political environment. I would do mock meetings. The first meeting I ever spoke in my life was in 1977. I was 6 years old. My grandmother wrote a poem. My grandmother was a very good poet. In fact, she was very close friend of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. She wrote a poem which I went and recited on stage in Tamil. And my father used to translate Mrs. Gandhi's speeches. I would go there. There's one meeting I clearly remember in the beach. There were only 3 people on the stage. My father, Indira Gandhi and me, sitting in one corner as a little boy. So I have grown up in politics. In fact, I think I outrank every single MP here. I don't think, in the Congress party in terms of the first political meeting. Because my first political meeting was 1977.
Oh, good Lord. When the Janata Party came to power.
Yeah, 1977 when
you were 6 years old.
I was 6 years old and my father contested an assembly election. I decided, so technically speaking, I am the senior most person in the Congress party in the parliament today.
Okay. All right. Periyar.
A very forward-looking man and very controversial too. And he was an agent provocator. He said very provocative things. No doubt about that. But an exceedingly forward-looking man in terms of women's rights. But you needed to be a provocator in order to get that thing there. But what happens in today's commentary is they take snatches of what was controversial or offensive and forget about what was progressive. So, but if you analyze anybody's life, there will be grey, black, and white. So, but we needed Periyar in Tamil Nadu, and Periyar's spirit is still alive in Tamil Nadu, and it's important for that in Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
And he was a congressman, by the way. He was Congress president of Tamil Nadu. Mm-hmm.
Shashi Tharoor?
Oh, close friend, extremely articulate man with great talents, and the Congress party should have used him more, but everything is okay now. But we should have used him a lot more in the past as well. We missed an opportunity with him.
Okay. Savarkar?
Again, like Periyar has a very depends on who you ask a different perspective. Historical figures are not black and white. As far as I am concerned, and you have to look at them in totality. There will be pluses, there will be minuses, and you can't judge them today because what decisions they took at that time were based on their knowledge at that time. See, when Gandhi's social views would be looked at a little bit even outdated today, but he was a man born 150 years ago. My grandfather's views, I won't agree with them today because my grandfather his education, his exposure was very different from mine. So it's very, very wrong to pass judgment. That's why when people keep faulting Nehru, they're wrong. You should look at it from that timeline. You can't be looking at it 100 years later and saying what you did was right, what you did was wrong. Everything is situational. Why did India, side with the Soviet Union? Because at that time we were coming out of a colonial rule, and it was natural for us to go to a workers kind of a collective. It was natural. That is what every other country which was coming out of colonial rule was doing. So it's exceedingly wrong to pass judgment on historical figures. I know people are very rough on Churchill in India. I mean, somebody who I to an extent admire because he stood up to the Nazis. Because
you can't forgive the Bengal famine, though.
You can't forgive the Bengal famine. You can't forgive the Bengal famine. He was a racist. He was an outright racist. But every white man at that time was racist, and most old white men are even racist today. I would even say President Trump is quite racist. So all white men are racist. It's like everybody's great-grandfather in this country would have been casteist. Would have been casteist because that was the social order at that time. So you can't pass judgment only on
slave
one thing.
owners and
he withheld food and stuff.
Yeah,
Millions
of
died
course.
in Bengal. So
there is
I can understand him as a personality, but Nehru or Churchill, they have policies that are written down as government edicts, so that can be criticized.
Of course, government policy can be criticized.
Yeah.
You can analyze them, but you have to understand that every decision was situational at that time and contextualize it at that time. You can't say 100 years later, why did you take the decision? But at that time, with their knowledge, their social standing, their social view would be tempered in a certain way. Because my social view is very different from my father's social view in a lot of things. And it definitely will differ from my daughter's social view in a lot of things. I mean, in India, there is no concept of privacy. But if now, people walk into everybody's doors without knocking into doors, that's unacceptable to my daughter. If I have to come into a door, I knock. But that was not how it was when I was a boy. My parents would walk in any time. I'm sure you understand that totally. But things change. Totally. So everything changes because of knowledge, customary behavior and everything like that.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and some books also. They don't stand the test of time.
Correct.
Of course, they get outdated.
What you read and what you idolize some authors.
But my only thing is that, prime ministers and all, their written word is there as policy, and you see the effect of that over decades.
But you see,
you talked about Soviet tilt and all that. There's no denying also the fact of Nehru's sort of idea towards our military expansion, towards our intelligence agencies. This is black and white. It's written of what he's done. So that the 62 China war is an element of that.
You can.
Using Krishna Menon as a defense minister.
I'm not saying you can't criticize, but you must also take into account the time
and the context behind
it. And their social conditioning also in taking a decision.
Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching ANI podcast with Smita Prakash.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा.
The issue is टूटा है क्या भारत?
400 पार का मतलब ये है कि संविधान खतरे में है.
क्या हम लोग ये निर्देश देते हैं कि फला को गिरफ्तार करके जेल डाल दें?
वही तो कह रहे हैं सब.
ये बेबुनियाद निराधार आरोप.
सच्चा सुनना चाहो देखो स्मिता प्रकाश ANI. It does not lie.